The United States presidential elections are not just a domestic affair. They are a global event with far-reaching implications. As the world's largest economy and a dominant military power, the choices Americans make at the ballot box reverberate across the globe, influencing everything from international trade to climate change policies, and from military alliances to human rights advocacy. As we approach the 2024 U.S. presidential election, it is crucial to understand how the outcome could shape global dynamics in the years to come. The economic ripples of U.S. presidential elections. The U.S. economy is deeply interconnected with the global economy, and any shift in American economic policy can cause significant ripples worldwide. The 2024 election is no exception, with both major candidates proposing vastly different approaches to trade, taxation, and economic regulation. Trade policy. The trade policies of the next U.S. president will be closely watched by global markets. A shift towards protectionism, for instance, could lead to increased tariffs and trade barriers, disrupting global supply chains and causing economic uncertainty in key trading partners like China, the European Union, and Mexico. Conversely, a more open trade policy could strengthen international trade agreements and foster economic cooperation, boosting global economic growth. Taxation and regulation. U.S. corporate tax policies have a direct impact on global investment flows. Lower corporate taxes in the U.S. could attract foreign investment, but they could also lead to competitive tax cuts in other countries, potentially sparking a race to the bottom in global tax rates. Additionally, the U.S. approach to regulation, particularly in the tech and financial sectors, sets a standard that other countries often follow. A president who favors deregulation could embolden similar moves abroad, while a more regulatory approach could inspire stricter global standards. Geopolitical shifts and global security. The U.S. president is often described as the leader of the free world, and with good reason. The decisions made in the Oval Office can alter the balance of power in regions far beyond America's borders. NATO and military alliances. The 2024 election will likely influence the future of NATO and other military alliances. A president who is committed to strengthening these alliances could ensure continued collective security in Europe, especially in the face of rising tensions with Russia. On the other hand, a more isolationist approach could weaken these alliances, potentially emboldening adversaries and creating power vacuums that destabilize regions like Eastern Europe and the Middle East. China and the Indo-Pacific region. U.S. relations with China remain one of the most critical aspects of global geopolitics. The 2024 election could determine whether the U.S. adopts a more confrontational stance towards China, potentially leading to heightened military tensions in the South China Sea and Taiwan Strait, or pursues a more diplomatic approach aimed at managing competition while avoiding conflict. The outcome of this election will also impact America's relationships with other Indo-Pacific nations, influencing everything from security alliances to trade partnerships. Russia and Eastern Europe. The U.S. stance towards Russia has significant implications for the security of Eastern Europe. A president who takes a hardline approach to Russia could reinforce U.S. support for Ukraine and other countries threatened by Russian aggression. However, a more conciliatory approach might lead to reduced support for these nations, potentially emboldening Russia to pursue more aggressive policies in the region. Climate change and environmental policy. Climate change is a global issue that requires coordinated international action, and the U.S. plays a pivotal role in shaping global climate policy. The 2024 U.S. presidential election will be crucial in determining the direction of American climate leadership. Paris Agreement and beyond. The U.S. rejoined the Paris Agreement under President Biden, and the 2024 election will decide whether the U.S. continues to honor its commitments or takes a step back from global climate initiatives. A president committed to aggressive climate action could push for stronger international agreements, potentially leading to more ambitious global targets for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Conversely, a president less focused on climate issues could slow global progress, making it harder to meet the goals set by the Paris Agreement. Energy policy. U.S. energy policy is closely tied to global energy markets. A shift towards renewable energy in the U.S. could accelerate the global transition to clean energy, reducing global dependence on fossil fuels and helping to mitigate the impacts of climate change. On the other hand, a president who prioritizes fossil fuel production could slow the global energy transition, exacerbating environmental challenges and delaying efforts to combat climate change. Environmental standards and regulations. The environmental regulations implemented by the U.S. often set a precedent for other countries. A president who prioritizes environmental protection could inspire similar regulations worldwide, promoting sustainable development and environmental conservation. Conversely, a rollback of environmental regulations in the U.S. could lead to weaker environmental protections globally, as other nations may follow America's lead. Support for democracy. The U.S. has traditionally supported democratic movements and governments around the world, but this support has sometimes wavered depending on the administration in power. A president committed to promoting democracy could provide crucial support to democratic movements in countries facing authoritarian regimes, helping to protect and expand global democratic governance. Conversely, a more transactional approach to foreign policy could lead to a reduced emphasis on democracy promotion, allowing authoritarian regimes to gain strength and influence. Global human rights advocacy. The U.S. has often used its influence to advocate for human rights in international forums like the United Nations. The 2024 election will determine whether the U.S. continues to champion these causes or takes a more passive role in global human rights advocacy. A president committed to human rights could lead efforts to address issues like gender equality, freedom of speech, and the rights of marginalized communities worldwide. However, a president who deprioritizes human rights could weaken global efforts to hold violators accountable and protect vulnerable populations. International institutions. A president who values multilateralism could strengthen U.S. participation in international institutions, helping to address global challenges like pandemics, economic instability, and climate change through coordinated international action. This approach could lead to more effective global governance and a stronger international community. Conversely, a president who favors unilateralism could weaken these institutions, reducing their ability to respond to global crises and potentially leading to a more fragmented and unstable world order. Global cooperation. The ability of the U.S. to cooperate with other major powers like the European Union, China, and Russia is crucial for maintaining global stability and addressing shared challenges. The 2024 election will influence the extent to which the U.S. is willing to engage in diplomatic efforts and seek common ground with other nations. A president who prioritizes global cooperation could help build stronger international partnerships, while a more adversarial approach could increase tensions and reduce the effectiveness of global governance. The world awaits America's choice. As the 2024 U.S. presidential election approaches, the world is watching closely. The outcome of this election will have profound implications for global economics, security, climate change, human rights, and multilateralism. Whether the next U.S. president chooses to engage with the world or retreat into isolationism, the impact will be felt far beyond America's borders. For global leaders, policymakers, and citizens, understanding the stakes of the 2024 U.S. presidential election is crucial. The decisions made in the Oval Office will shape the future of our interconnected world, influencing everything from the global economy to the fight against climate change, and from international security to the promotion of human rights. As the world waits to see who will lead the United States in the years to come, one thing is clear: America's choice will resonate across the globe, for better or for worse. If you found this deep dive into the global impact of U.S. presidential elections insightful, please like this video and subscribe for more in-depth analyses on international politics and global affairs. Stay tuned for more updates as the 2024 election unfolds, and feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.